Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel. Wanted to talk to you about a few things I've been seeing in the news lately about Teen Vogue and tweets from Teen Vogue, journalists, and how they should never have any kind of influence on a teenager's mindset, just for the simple fact that their ideas are so horrific and that they should never be able to impact a young mind, ever. If you guys like my channel, please subscribe to it, like it. I really appreciate it. Here's Tucker Carlson's take on this whole Teen Vogue thing. And, I wanted to just show you guys an outside source besides myself.
But going forward, we should also be careful that the noble effort to end sexual harassment does not degenerate into a witch hunt. It can happen, as the Washington Post just proved. So with that in mind, two things to remember. First, anonymous accusations always lead to abuses. The right to face your accuser is the cornerstone of justice and has been since ancient Rome. That's why it's enshrined in the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution. It's why we ban star chambers. We don't allow people to accuse others of armed robbery or murder from behind the shield of anonymity. Why do media outlets allow it in cases of sexual harassment? If you're going to name the accused, you ought to name the accuser, assuming it's an adult. News organizations are not courts. They shouldn't take a side when guilt and innocence are in dispute. It's too easy to get it wrong, and they often do. Second, not everyone accused of a sex offense is guilty. Not every accuser is telling the truth. I learned this the hard way a number of years ago when I was accused of felony rape by a woman I'd literally never even seen. She was a certified public accountant in Indiana, an upstanding member of her community, and also apparently delusional. Her claims were grotesque, but they were highly specific. The assault, she said, took place in the back room of a restaurant in Louisville on a specific day at around 10:30 p.m. She included loads of graphic and horrifying detail. It was stomach-turning, and yet none of it was true. I spent the next 2 months trying to stay out of jail. I couldn't tell my children because I knew they'd be ashamed. I couldn't tell my employer because I knew I'd be fired immediately. I spoke only to lawyers, and I paid them a fortune. I took a polygraph exam from the former head polygrapher at the FBI. I never stopped worrying that the charges would become public and destroy my life. Everyone accused of a sex offense did something wrong. Everybody knows that, and I knew that no one would believe otherwise. This isn't a defense of sexual harassment or misbehavior, obviously. It's just a reminder that real life is complicated, more complicated than sermonizing on Twitter. Sometimes the mob is wrong. Sometimes the innocent are crushed. That's always a tragedy, no matter what the charge is. Of course, crushing the innocent may also be the point of the exercise, and we're seeing that. Last week, a feminist called Emily Linden announced on Twitter that she was, quote, not at all concerned about innocent men losing their jobs in the search for perpetrators of sexual harassment. Quote, if some innocent men's reputations have to take a hit in the process of undoing the patriarchy, that is a price I am absolutely willing to pay.
Innocent men should pay the price because of the patriarchy? Are you serious? No. Anyone who is innocent is innocent. That's what you don't understand. There should be no repercussions for someone who did nothing wrong. Oh, a few men, if they get screwed over, it's okay. No, lady. You deserve to be fired by Teen Vogue and never be hired because you are destroying the minds of young Americans and young humans all over the world. So no. With these kind of thoughts, you're saying every man is as bad as an actual, assaulter, an actual person who actually does the event, who actually assaults someone. No. Get the hell out of here with that mindset.
Linden, not surprisingly, is a columnist at Teen Vogue. We asked her to come on tonight to talk about her views, but she refused. Instead, we're joined by Kathy Rue. Kathy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, look, I agree with you completely. I think that if someone perpetrates a crime, legal or moral, like sexual harassment, that person ought to be held to account. So I want to be really clear.
Right.
I would never defend that.
Right. I would never defend that either.
But the whole point of the exercise is to bring about justice, to make sure that the guilty pay and the innocent go free.
Exactly.
This woman seems to be, Sarah is saying, that it doesn't matter that all men are guilty by virtue of being men. That's the opposite of justice. That's collective punishment. You wouldn't be for that, would you?
No, I mean, I'm not for social injustice, but what she's trying to say that it would be microscopic compared to what women have been through. You mentioned witch hunts. There are no warlock hunts. There were never any wizard hunts. I mean, women are the ones that are often persecuted, and the mobs that you were talking about, the mobs are usually the men that are burning innocent women at the stake.
So we're back in the 1600s, and innocent till proven guilty means nothing. Let's all strap them to some stakes and light them on fire because they're men.
So women are usually the ones that suffer much more than men, and I think that's what Emily Linden was trying to say.
That's, I mean, just for the sake of argument, I'll assume that's true. We're not teaching a history class here, but certainly people have been persecuted unfairly by mobs, that's for sure.
For centuries, women have been persecuted, yes.
Sure. And men too in some cases. But leaving the sex aside, if it was wrong then, why wouldn't you be every bit as horrified that it's going on now, or that it could potentially happen now? Why wouldn't you be horrified by what this woman...
She's not horrified because it's men, and feminists don't want real equality. They want vengeance. That's all they want. Oh, men did it to us. Oh, men did it to us. No. You want equality. Let it be about equality, not, oh, men did it to us, so we're going to do it to them. No.
Wrote.
Well, she was defending it, saying that it would be wrong, but microscopic in the sense that what happens to women and women's reputations is so much worse than what would happen to a man's reputation. Women's reputations are destroyed constantly on a daily basis.
So men falsely accused don't have their reps demolished, but you know, women who get their reputations demolished on a daily basis, you know, that's what you want to focus on. I don't think women get their reputations demolished on a daily basis. I know plenty of women, and they don't agree with you, or your Teen Vogue friends who are crazy people.
So facts don't really matter. So in other words, she's saying you should respect me when I make the case that facts don't really matter?
Well, maybe she's trying to say let's level the playing field, and men are finally feeling the pain that women have felt for a long time, for centuries.
And that's good.
Well, it's good when the sexes, when the genders are equal. And she's saying that maybe it's about time that they're equal.
So in other words, you're saying, like, I think what happened to women is wrong, so I'm going to do it to men because it feels good. Why should I take you seriously as a person if that's the case you're making?
You shouldn't take her serious, or any of these women. They just want vengeance. They don't actually see the problem with their actions. They'd rather let normal, innocent men suffer because of the actual men out there who do assault women. They think that everyone's the same, so they want vengeance. They don't want justice. They want vengeance.
Social injustice is not okay, but she's saying it happens to women all of the time. So men are finally getting a taste of it. Women are finally getting a little bit of power. So now if men are starting to feel a little bit of the pain, welcome to our club.
Huh. So how would you feel if this standard, which is horrifying, were applied to crimes like, I don't know, murder or armed robbery? Like, I don't know if you did it, but you look exactly like someone who has done it. Therefore, if you're punished for it, like, you know, at least you now know how it feels. How would you feel about that?
Well, it's rare. Women rarely accuse men of sexual harassment. It's rare that in her article she was actually saying that. In her tweets she was saying that it was rare that it actually happened.
She doesn't know anything. What do you mean rare? Look,
well, that's what she was saying.
Here's what she doesn't know. If you can present the stats, like actual social science on that,
right.
But here's what we know is that people are flawed. And most people tell the truth, but not everybody does. And that's why we have things like due process and a justice system that tries to determine objectively who is guilty and who is innocent and punishes only the first category.
They don't want due process, and that's the biggest issue. You don't want due process. You want these men tarred and feathered and to have their reputations destroyed, regardless of innocence or guilt. So why don't we do things the right way and actually get to the bottom of it and find out if they are someone who actually committed the crime they're accused of, or if they are innocent.
Category. And she's suggesting, and a lot of other people like you are suggesting, just throw that out because everybody who makes an accusation is telling the truth, when we know that's not true. Well, like, I don't want to live in the world you're describing. Do you really want to?
No, like I said, I mean, in social injustice, and I don't believe in that.
She doesn't believe in social injustices, but she says but a lot, and has some sort of comeback for, you know, justifying why the men should be treated that way, even though it is a social injustice. You're a crazy lady as well.
But I'm saying let's live in a world with everyone's reputations at stake, not just women. Not just women
Right.
are called names, not just women's reputations are at stake. There aren't just witch hunts. Let's have the wizard hunts. Let's have everyone burned at the stake if anyone's going to.
Women's reps aren't the only ones at stake here. Who do you think you are as a woman? Or all these women that you think have their reps destroyed on the daily? Who? You're saying that women are the only ones who have their reps affected by mob justice? I don't know. Look at Just Believe versus Trust But Verify. Just Believe equals everyone who gets accused is, an actual assaulter versus they could be innocent.
Burn at the stake. So I think that's the philosophy.
Wouldn't it be better to treat people as individuals and assess the claims against people on an individual basis?
Absolutely, but it's not happening. It's not happening for women. No, women are the minority in this country, and we still are fighting for our equal rights. So men are still in power. You are still in power.
So you agree, treat them as individuals, but only if they're women? Because that's what you just said. Damn you dumb.
So you're suggesting that if women ever took power, whatever that means, I mean, I don't buy the premise of what you just said, by the way, but let's just say that if a group that felt itself to be oppressed took power, that it would oppress the group beneath it just as kind of payback is fair? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, that group is not in power. So what I'm saying is that if that group were to be in power, it would probably be a better place because we all know that women are less violent than men. They commit less murders than men, and women are just not that way. So it would actually probably be a better world if women were in charge.
Yeah, women don't ever hold grudges against anyone, not like their best friends, and then they don't talk to them for years on end. You know, it'd make a better society if women were the ones 100% in power. You know, that makes sense because you want to do away with the patriarchy, but let's put the matriarchy in charge instead. These two fictional beings. Yeah, sure.
So
yeah. I mean, you may be right. You're not making that case very persuasively, I have to say. Why is it that in the case of these kinds of allegations, the accuser's identity is shielded? Like the basis of justice is the idea that, no, not the victim, the accuser, none of this has gone to court. The facts are not fully known. Okay, the victim and the accuser are two different things. Once you've proven you've been harmed, you're the victim. Before then, you're the accuser. Why would we jettison thousands of years of tradition, of jurisprudence, and hide the identity of the accuser? How would you feel if you were accused of something and you didn't know who was accusing you?
Because the patriarchy, duh.
Right. Well, but we're seeing there are many men that are guilty right now. So
sure, yeah, there are.
Yeah, there are many men that are guilty, and you weren't one of them, but many men are guilty. So these women are speaking up, and they're having a voice now. So it's wonderful that they have a voice and they feel empowered to do so.
A voice, but no name or face. So in other words, let me just ask you again: how would you? And by the way, I think most people accused of these kinds of crimes are guilty. Okay, but what grates on my conscience is that some of them aren't. And so I'm wondering how you would feel if I said, you know, Kathy, I've spoken to someone who accuses you of something that's career-ending, that's life-ending. It's a grave moral crime. And I'm not going to tell you who this person is, but I'm going to tell everybody what this person accuses you of. Wouldn't you say, hey, wait a second, who is this person? I want to face my accuser. Wouldn't you think that?
You should be able to face your accuser no matter what the claim, because that is what due process and this modern society's court system is based on. And you've had it that way for many years. Don't go changing it so they can blindly accuse and just say, hey, I was assaulted by him and him, and I don't want them to know it was me accusing them. What? I understand if you're scared, but you know what? Stand up. If these persons actually did assault you, stand up, and you know what? They're gonna face justice. But to say that you don't want to stand up to them, that gives them the power. If they are actually guilty, you're giving them more power.
I feel like a woman has felt over the centuries, like the Scarlet Letter, like Hester Prynne that had to wear the Scarlet Letter A. I would feel like a woman the way she's been treated over the centuries. Women have been accused for years, for hundreds of years, of crimes that they didn't commit because they weren't.
We do have the Scarlet Letter for sex predators. It's called the Amber Law here in California and other places where they have to register as sex offenders. And what if one of those people get falsely accused and falsely convicted. So they have that scarlet letter that you claim women are the only ones, because you never see people getting off from the 80s and 90s of false accusations of rape these days. No, not with DNA testing. That doesn't happen, right, crazy lady?
Pure enough.
But they haven't been accused anonymously, not in this country, because it's never been allowed until recently. It's never been allowed. And that would include the Puritan times, that would include the Hester Prynne era that you're referring to. People are not accused anonymously because that leads inevitably to abuses. I just want to leave on that concept. Do you understand that? What I'm saying?
Absolutely. And as I said, I don't believe that anyone should be accused falsely, but I understand her way of thinking, Emily Linden's way of thinking, and I can see what she was saying, that if men suffer in just a microscopic way compared to the way women have suffered, so be it.
Yeah, I hope you never sit on a jury, much as I like you, Kathy. Thank you.
I like you too.
God, yeah, she better never end up on a jury. It is not microscopic to lose everything because of allegations, your job, your livelihood, everything. You comparing that women's reputations at stake throughout every day is the same as someone completely being slung through the mud falsely. Now, if they're guilty, who gives a shit? But let's make sure they're guilty first before we run them through the mud and ruin their lives. Like I showed you in one of my other videos, who this woman just wanted to, the whole notice me situation because the guy pushed off her advances. This woman and these Teen Vogue writers should never be allowed to impact young minds. The problem with this is they're going to doom our society to this mentality of, you know what, all men are horrible creatures, no matter who they are, and you have to worry about being assaulted by every single man. Every single man. No. You guys are so crazy. Stop saying this stuff when you have young women and potentially young men who follow you. You can't say things like this. This is wrong. And our society is going to be doomed because of people like you. Thank you so much for sticking with it, guys. And I know I already asked earlier, but please subscribe to my video. Like it with notifications on. I love you all and appreciate you watching the whole video. You know what? Have a great weekend, great night, and thank you so much.